forever to load. All right, we are now live. Peace, peace to all of my beautiful people. It is your favorite bookkeeper, Tanea, aka Honeybee the Bookkeeper, and you guys know that I have been doing this 14-day health and wealth challenge because I do not see any difference in the patterns in my life between my health and my wealth. And so, in my attempt to be better overall, in my health, in my wealth, in my mind, I have put myself on a challenge. And every night for this challenge, I have been going live with special guests who are experts in their field and the things that we have been talking about. And tonight, y'all, I'm so excited. Okay. And tonight we will be talking about generational and community wealth building. And my guest tonight is none other than Demetry Simonton.
You guys doing? Let's go. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. I am so happy to have you. And who better to have than you on Juneteenth? Like, this is the
Uh,
synchronicity, the alignment. It's all perfect right now. It's all
right.
perfect. So thank you so much for being here. For those who do not know, who is Demetry?
Who is Demetri?
Yeah.
I'm just a servant. I love
Mm,
our community, and I just want to serve our community and serve families and connect people to resources and empower them and inspire them to elevate themselves.
yes, I love that. I am just a servant. I'm working towards that right now. But yeah, so today is Juneteenth, like you mentioned, Freedom Day. And from your perspective, what does economic freedom really look like in the community today, in the year of 2025?
What does it look like today?
Yeah, what does that look like today?
And I just made this post about Juneteenth probably about 20 minutes ago, right?
Uh-huh.
And just going in depth and let everybody know, we call it Juneteenth or Freedom Day, but freedom is not free, and you have to
Ooh,
pay for it. And
right.
we have historically fought the entire time we've been on this soil for freedom and what that looks like to us. So when we talk about what does freedom look like from an economic development kind of standpoint,
Mhm.
it's about the power to choose. It's about having options. And for us, it's about coming together, right? That's what it's really about.
Right. Absolutely. And that's where all of that community work comes in. It's about us working together. How far have we come in terms of like black wealth from years ago to now? What do you think?
Mm.
So how far have we come? And then what do you think our biggest threat is when it comes to black wealth?
Well, once again, it really, we have to think about how we're defining wealth. Are we looking at it financially, right? Or
Right.
talking about family? Are we talking about businesses? Are we talking about education? Are we talking about health? Because we've lost a lot of things that we
Hmm.
were thinking of. If you look back at the black community, after slavery, all the way up to the 60s and 70s, we were healthy, we were eating right,
Hmm.
right? We were in shape, the family was strong, our culture, our faith was strong. Our views on education and just respect and all that dynamic was strong. We were very wealthy in a
Hmm.
number of different ways,
Yeah.
and I feel as though right now, the state of the black community, we've lost a lot of that wealth, the health, the family dynamic, right?
Hmm.
How we view and value education to a certain degree, how we come together, how the black church or whatever kind of institution you're in is shattered. So in the
Hmm.
terms of wealth, I think we are morally bankrupt to a certain degree.
Ooh,
So
yes.
financially, we've made strides, but in the terms of property ownership and things like that. But it feels like when we take one step forward, we take two steps back. Because if you guys are going to sell Big Mama's house or give up the land, we ain't
Hmm.
doing each other any good. So I think on the individual level, there may have been some strides in the terms of wealth, Tanea, but collectively and in the terms of practicing group economics, I think we're bankrupt to a certain degree.
I absolutely agree with that statement. And I was talking to some friends of mine earlier, and we were saying how Black people, we spend one point whatever trillion dollars, but none of it is really being circulated within our community. So we bring in the most money, we spend the most money, but where is it going? How can we bring in that much money and we as a people be bankrupt? Like it's
Well,
crazy.
it's a matter of priorities and how we view ourselves, right?
Mm,
So I was watching a video, it was talking something to the effect of we have high confidence as African Americans, but
mhm.
very low self esteem.
Woo!
So
Bar.
we're confident to go after the job and do this and do that because of our self esteem is so low. We're going to spend that money to look wealthier than what we are. We're going to spend that money to try to be in spaces that we really don't need to be in because we're
Hmm.
trying to, in a sense, put on a show and be something that I'm not going to say that we're not, but something that we don't need to try to be.
Right. Right. That low self esteem. We're constantly trying to be something that we really aren't. And it's like it's so beautiful to be who we are. Why do we even want to be anybody else? Like, but that's a whole nother topic. Let me stick to my script. What does generational wealth mean beyond just passing down money? Like what else should we be passing down our generations?
Yeah, so that goes back to how are we defining wealth? Because we need to pass down healthy eating habits. We
Right.
need to pass down, strong families, complete families,
Mhm.
strong traditions coming together, right? We need
Yeah.
to pass down um, strong morals and values and, a view on education. And I want to make sure that I'm clear, not just schooling, but education. We need to value that. And then, of course, in the terms of financials, right, we need to pass down systems. When you're looking at universal index life policies, when you're looking at wills, when you're looking at trust, when you're looking at holding companies and different things like that, we need to pass down systems, right?
Mhm.
What do we always say? Oh, this is systematic racism. This is systematic this. This is systematic that. Yet we're not building and designing counter systems to go against that. So, I'm sure we're all familiar with that quote. We need to focus our energy more on building up the new than tearing down the old. Let that stuff be and focus on building systems that you can pass down. That way, whether you're here or not, you know that your family is in a system and they have to follow the rules of that trust,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. That's what we need to pass down is systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I agree 1,000%. I think we get too caught up on the old. Like you said, oh, let's tear down the old and build up the new. Like, let's not even concern ourselves with that. Like, let's just move forward from where we are now. Let's move forward. So, for first generational wealth builders who are tuning in right now, where should they start if their family didn't leave them anything but debt?
Ooh, so let me. This wasn't planned, but
It definitely was.
I'm gonna say I actually just bought Charlemagne the God's book, which was
Okay.
Black Privilege. Right, the opportunity comes to those who create it, and in aspects of it, it's discussing embracing the privilege of having to go through things, not having systems that were passed down and things
Hmm.
like that. And I don't want to contradict myself, but if you're a first generational builder, the advantage that you have is you get to design the system. You're not locked into something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
educate yourself, pull from other systems that you see, whether it's the Rockefeller family, whether it's whatever, and design a system that you can, pass on. Get you an LLC to start off with, so you can learn to protect yourself.
Mhm.
Work towards establishing a trust, and don't feel like you have to have all this done in 3 days, 3 months, or even a year. Sometimes these things it takes some time, right? So
Right.
first generational builders, get your paperwork right.
Mhm.
Where we are out strategized is when grants come about or when things are going on, our paperwork ain't in order.
Mhm.
So we don't even have the opportunity to apply or compete because our paperwork ain't right. And they looking to be like, all right, well, we want to see that you've been in business, for at least 2 years or 3 years. You can't apply for your paperwork the day that grant opens up and think that they're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
first generational builders, to summarize that, get your paperwork in order and focus on systems.
Listen, get your paperwork in order. You guys, I am a bookkeeper and I focus on people who are just becoming entrepreneurs or small business owners. And I can't even tell you how many times I'm like, where's your mission statement? Where's your EIN number? Why aren't you legally separated from your business? If somebody were to come and sue you right now, your personal assets are at risk. Get your paperwork right.
Well,
Get your paperwork right,
the
y'all.
first thing that major I don't want to say like potential clients are going to go do, they're going to look you up on the Arizona Corporation Commission. Are you registered? Like,
Right.
how real are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether we want to admit it or not, you know, if a black person's coming and we're pitching our company or anything else, people inherently feel like it's a scam. They feel like we're a charlatan. We feel like, you know, this don't feel right. So they gonna Google you. They gonna look at your social media. They gonna look you up on the Arizona Corporation Commission. They gonna do all their due diligence,
Mm-hmm.
right, to try to discredit you. So that's where it goes back to, like I said, number one thing, get your paperwork right.
Get your paperwork right. And another thing, just to add to that, my little piece. Also, you guys, when you're starting your businesses and getting your paperwork right, have an address for your business outside of where you lay your head. No PO boxes. Have a physical address for your business. Okay, just wanted to add that little piece in there. How do we teach our children ownership, assets, and financial independence without overwhelming them?
Well, I'm a believer that people are going to rise or fall to the expectations that you put on them. We can't be
Mm-hmm.
concerned with whether this is overwhelming or not, right? The best
Okay.
thing that we can do is teach them how to handle things when it feels overwhelming. Because you know, as an entrepreneur, you're going to feel overwhelmed all the time, point
Right.
blank, period. So to try to set these things up in a way, and I understand where you're coming from, but we got to toughen up, and you got to be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and understanding, you know what, I may have to just do research all night because I don't know what this is. I don't know what this means, and I feel overwhelmed, you
Right.
know. So, but the best way, give them the business, start the business. I mean, it can be a vending machine, it can be a shoe shining company, it can be yard work, it can be house cleaning,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. You know, one of my favorite shows growing up, I was used to watching my grandmother, was The Cosby Show, right?
Yeah.
And there were some episodes where, you know, Theo thought he was going to be going out and living, and you know, he said, "All right, let's break this down. How much
Yeah.
money you gonna be making every month? This and that. This is how much this is gonna cost." In my household, we have what we call dad dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Every month, rent is due. I need your money for your rent. I need your money for your food. You know, and you have the opportunity to earn throughout the week, throughout the day. You know, but it's teaching them that financial responsibility and the pressure of what it's like in the real world. And I don't think it's overwhelming, but if it is, this is the opportunity to teach you how to cope with that, rather than, you know, you 18, get out the house, and now they're adults and they don't know how to cope, and they mess their life up early on, and now they're spending 10 years trying to dig out of a hole that they
Woo.
got into 18 through 21 because we didn't prepare them when they were children, realistically.
Right. We did not prepare them for the real world. That is so true. I meet so many people that are just like that. Um, but yes. So can you break down the mindset that it takes to go from survival to building? So surviving to building. What type of mindset shift does that take?
That's so deep, Tanea. You know, and I want to do justice to this response, because a lot of times it's not necessarily a mindset, it's a spiritual thing, because
Woo.
from survival to prosperity or building, you have to deal with your own self-worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're undercharging what we should be. We don't feel confident enough to go after a position or a job or a contract. And you know me, I'm calling everybody like, apply, go after it, get it. Don't worry about it, just
Yeah,
apply.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of times this is that self worth. Their mindset is right. You talk to people, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely do I really run into some folks who they don't get it, but it's their self confidence, it's their self worth that is holding them back, in the sense of getting to a point to build and then preserve legacy, right? Because
Right,
subconsciously, even if you make money, to your point earlier, we blowing it quicker than we make it.
right.
So a lot of times it ain't even about your ability to go out and make money. It's your subconscious mind blowing that money because you don't feel like you should have wealth. You don't feel like you should have a reserve. You don't feel like you should have
Wow.
some of these things. And so you're sabotaging these other things that you should be focusing on, right? And preserving wealth because you spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, whatever, you feel like you don't deserve it.
Wow. Ooh, let me just, that is so deep. It is definitely a spiritual thing. And I'm so happy too that you brought that up, because over the last couple of days of me doing this health and wealth challenge and bringing different speakers on, I understand that it is a spiritual thing. So I even have my brother, who is a pastor, come and talk to the people about, even when it comes to your health and you holding on to certain things, you have to first get what yourself, your spirit, before you can even get that weight off, before you can even think to, instead of picking up this burger, I'm gonna pick up a salad. Before you even get to that point, you have to first deal with you, and like you said, your spirit. That is so deep. I hope everybody is listening. Y'all drop some flames in the chat if y'all hear what he's saying. You got to deal with you. It is a spiritual thing. Okay. Woo, my goodness. Okay. So we always hear, people are going and buying land and buying back the block and things like that. But what does true community wealth building look like?
Hmm.
Not just buying back the block, but how do we get
Yeah.
those
No,
dollars
no.
circulating?
Buying back the block is fantastic. I'm going to start back with
Okay.
the family. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
if we can't even build within our family, and I mean like realistically, because it's odd that we can go and build with strangers,
Oh
you
man.
know, better than we can build within our own families. And I think that that's what true, because look at it on a micro and a macro level. Like you can't have a community if you don't have strong families.
Hmm.
You have to have strong individuals, then strong families, then strong communities, and then strong nations. So we're doing this ass backwards. Forgive me, y'all, if for my language, but we are really looking at everything backwards. We're always looking for this messiah, or well, the community ain't doing this, the community ain't doing. I'm like, right, but like, what are you doing? And then what are you doing within your family? And it may not be popular. You
Hmm.
may be that black sheep. You may be that brother or sister who's holding everybody accountable, and it's tough, but
Hmm.
it starts there. And then with your own children or nieces and nephews or whatever else have you, you begin to build and install that. We got to play the long game. We have to realize this may not be healed with us. I
Right.
like, bro,
Ooh.
we're like John the Baptist. I'm just here to kind of speak about what's about to happen. Like, I'm not the one. You know what I'm saying? So often we want to be the one. And I'm like, it may not be me, but I'm going to be the one that proclaimed and taught and said what we need to do and get the things in order. And then y'all may be the ones who build. But too
Right.
often we want to be that one. So
Hmm.
let's start back with strong individuals,
Right.
then strong families, then communities, and then we'll just we'll continue to go on from there.
From there, yes, I absolutely love that. And then you brought up something earlier too, where you were saying about education. And I think that a lot of our people, black people, are like willfully ignorant. Like we refuse to go and do research and look things up when we don't know it. It's just kind of like, oh, well, I don't know, or I didn't know, but not really taking that time to go and do the research, to put the work in, and to be a servant. Like you were saying at the beginning, I'm just a servant. We try to be that one, but it's better to just pass that on. That's that generational healing. And that's where that wealth comes in, that healing, that health and wealth.
We seem to be, and I want to say Black Americans. I don't want to say blacks in general, because the Africans do their thing. The
Right.
West Indies, they do it. It seems to be a Black American thing a lot of
Hmm.
times, where it's like we are the only group of people who doesn't prioritize the next generation. We
Ooh, yeah.
prioritize ourselves. How many
Mhm.
of us know that your mama's still trying to get it together and she's still worried about her and what she got going on versus pouring into you and helping you establish? In fact, they looking at you to help them get together, right? So the
Right.
money
Right.
flowing the wrong way. Instead of
Hmm.
money flowing down into future generations, it got to flow backwards because they didn't do what they needed to do to get right.
Hmm.
And then there's this guilt trip of like, you ain't gonna help your mom, you ain't gonna do this. Oh, y'all think that it's crazy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you see other generations, I mean other cultures, they're focusing on the next generation. You know, they started from when they was born. They set up the education account. They
Yeah.
make sure that there's insurance so that there's money coming down. They preserve
Mm-hmm.
the home so that it can be passed down. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they don't even keep you in. Well, you 21, 25. No, don't pay rent. Go to school. Focus on building that business. Man, as soon as you 17 or as soon as you start working,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hey, I'm gonna need that.
Mm-hmm.
Have to break bread, you know, or you 18, but then get out.
Yeah.
And so now there's never an opportunity to really get established.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then you just end up failing because, like you said, there was no opportunity there. You didn't leave me with anything. You didn't give me no chance,
Right.
no opportunity. What am I supposed to do?
Hmm. But that's
Wow.
with the privilege of it, right? Like let's all be alchemists. We talk about mindset. We talk about the spirit. You know, the thing that has really made me who I am was everything that my mom and dad and grandma and aunties and uncles didn't do for me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
there was a moment where I had to really sit down and write down everything that I was hurt, frustrated. I mean, I'm mad, right? Like I'm really mad and just disappointed more than anything that these things
Right.
weren't. And I'm fighting the battles as we're talking about, well, y'all didn't do this, y'all didn't have this in order, y'all messed up here, y'all messed up there. And I had to say, well, what did each one of these things teach me? And I was like, ooh, let me make sure my paperwork right. Ooh,
Right.
make sure I'm prioritizing the next generation. Okay, let me be that brother, that uncle, that cousin who's making sure. All right, y'all, here's the system, here's the vision, come and participate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that has enabled me to begin to release that resentment because that's a generational curse. That's a generational cycle as well.
Right.
Resenting those who come before you. And so
Ooh.
now you just so frustrated and disconnected that even if they did have some word of wisdom or advice, you're not receptive to it anyway. Like you
Mm-hmm.
hurt.
Right, right. And it goes back to what you were saying about Charlemagne's book. Now I haven't read it, but from what I understand, there's that gratitude in the opportunity to learn from those mistakes, to learn from those setbacks and those failures. And so, like you said, just alchemizing that energy moving forward is paramount. It's very
I,
powerful.
I think that's where we're at in this moment, right? Because
Mm,
we can get into the timeline from slavery to Jim Crow to segregation to the civil rights to the crime bills. We can get into it, right? But there was an era, you know, where let's say between the late 70s all the way up until the early to mid 2000s, right? People were strung out. You know, who's supposed to be Big Mama right now? She's the 80s crackhead. She's the
right.
dope head. You know, who's supposed to be Pop Pop right now? He went to jail for 20 years because of the crime bill. The three strikes you out. So they coming out. This is the first I really feel like we're the first generation. We don't have the same help that they had. We don't have Big Mama. We don't have Pop Pop. We don't have that land, you know, out there in the country that
Hmm.
they had and growing watermelons and greens, and we don't have any of that. And
Right.
so we are in a position to where, dang, we have to try to take care of them because they never got it together, and we have to be trying to plan for the future generation, and then make some type of space for ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah,
exhausting. Like, let's be real here today, right? Like, I
it
think our
is.
generation is just exhausted with all
Yeah.
this, but we have to really process it, learn from it, let it go, so that we can move forward and we can stop building. I just think we're really holding on to so much resentment and hurt, right?
Mm.
That we can't even focus on building because we focus on the hurt.
Right. Right. I just want to give this little piece and you guys can take it or you can leave it. But how he was speaking about the resentment, I think writing is very important to do in your daily practice, right? I keep a journal. So whenever I'm feeling like I'm just holding on to too much, I get my pen and my journal and I write it down. I write and release. I get my little timer. I give myself 12 minutes and everything that I'm feeling in that moment I dump it into my journal on paper. And if I'm really feeling some type of way, I'll burn that piece of paper. Okay. What I do directly after that is go back in, give myself another 12 minutes, and write everything that I want to be feeling in this moment. So y'all can take that or you can leave it, but practice some type of write and releasing. so that way you can start getting these things out of your system so you can move forward and continue to build wealth for yourself and for the generations to come. All right. Woo. What are some real practical ways that everyday people can contribute to uplifting their local economic? I mean, their local community.
Your local community at large.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Civic engagement. Just participate.
Yeah.
There's programs. Today we talk about this all the time, right? Especially you in your positions and your roles. There are so many resources. You don't have to think about you giving directly to benefit. You bettering yourself and taking advantage of the resources, because a lot of these are like federally and nationally funded. You bringing resources in,
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of it. There's pools of money that's sitting there, but if you don't access it, it doesn't flow into your community. It doesn't flow into your household. So you just being engaged and participating it is the best way. That's the most practical way, right? Uh,
Yeah.
to build wealth and get involved. Just engage. Seriously.
Yeah, definitely engage. And I will say that if you guys are not already following both of us, do that because Demetri is constantly posting new opportunities coming into the community. Even if I took a opportunity that was in Phoenix and it changed my life. It taught me how to write a complete loan ready, grant ready business plan. But it was through he posting and bringing those opportunities right here to where we live at. So definitely follow him and engage, participate. Okay. All righty. Let's start talking about some health. We talked about all the wealth and all that jazz.
Right.
Let's get into some health. Um, I don't know which one I want to start with. Okay, so do you believe that we can have true economic liberation without addressing our physical and mental health?
No,
Mm-hmm.
because being unhealthy is probably the most expensive thing, like
Yeah.
far. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're
Mm-hmm.
missing days at work, whether just the bills in and of themselves, a short life expectancy, you losing the ability to be mobile and take advantage of stuff. Like if we're not healthy, we can't truly build generational wealth. And part of that is because we pass down those same unhealthy habits to the next generation. And you
Right.
now, these kids be like 9 years old, be bigger than you.
Right. Right.
So how are they ever gonna really get a leg up and have the energy to go out here and pursue? So no, if we don't change our eating and health habits, absolutely not. And I'll be the first. Look, I love to eat.
Right.
Love it.
Me too.
Lord no, I'll call Teresa tomorrow. Let me get that plate.
Yeah.
I'll pull up. Seriously, I get it, but I'm switching my mindset around it too, to where it's like, no, this isn't a diet. This is a lifestyle. And how do I, you know, preserve myself, my health, so that I can continue to be a servant? If I'm
Mhm.
unhealthy, if I got to call out, if I'm having to retire earlier because of my health, I'm doing my family a disservice and I'm doing my community a disservice.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And so, for somebody who is, you know, grinding, working, and not taking care of themselves, what piece of advice would you give them? I think a lot of times, and I know I did it, I'm definitely guilty of this when I was younger, working two jobs and going to school full time. I didn't care about my health. I ate everything that was convenient to me, and I just put my health on the back burner and now dealing with things. So, what piece of advice would you give to them?
And the real advice that I would give to them is stop like doping yourself, because what we end up doing, you're drinking the coffee, you're taking
Yeah.
the energy drink, you're taking a fat burner, you're taking, I don't know, there's so many things out here to get you that zing, and so you never really acknowledge how tired you are until you're completely burnt out, right?
Yeah.
We don't even have a realistic gauge of how tired we actually are, because we're so stimulated on other things that we've used to keep us going, right?
Hmm.
And
Right.
so as I recently started my health journey, it was okay. Let's cut out all the coffee. Let's cut out the pre-workout. And Lord, I love my pre-workout. Like
Yeah.
C4, that's me. So like for real. But I had to say, Demetri, let yourself be tired because you need
Mhm.
to really gauge where your energy is really at so that
Right.
you can see like this is when your energy falls. And that's when, 30 minutes before that is when I thought, let me get another scoop of pre-workout. Boom, I'm back. Got another
Right.
3 hours, right?
Hmm.
So I had to really allow myself to be tired so that I could reset and get in tune with my natural energy and my natural flow. And it was really weird today because my cognitive health shifted as well. You know,
Mm.
so it wasn't even just like the physical aspect of it, it was the cognitive health that I noticed the most difference of, and being able to actually sleep through the night rather than, because I took pre-workout at 6 o'clock, I'm not getting true restful sleep. So to everyone out there, listen, get your rest and stop overstimulating yourself. Get in tune with your real flow because that flow is going to align you with wealth, abundance, and everything else. You got to get in your real flow. Seriously.
Get into your flow. I absolutely love that because in that time that I was just admitted to, I definitely became a coffee drinker. I wasn't really doing it before, but it was just like cup after cup. I'm like, oh, I can do it. I got the energy. Like, no, you don't. You need to go sit down somewhere and get a good night's rest. Like, you're tired. You
Well,
don't
let's
have
be real
energy.
here. Let's be real here, right? Like you've asked me recently, how come you ain't at this event? Where you at? I thought you was going to be there. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
am tired. I do not have the energy to show up fully engaged, right? And
Mm,
be the version of myself that people are used to, right? After years, this last year, a little bit of grief from losing my brother, from losing my uncle, to losing, a lot of people, and still having to push through, you know, I'm tired,
right.
and being able to um, be open and transparent with that to myself
Hmm.
is what is allowing me to shift into a different space of work to where, I'm saying 5 hours a day, that's enough. I'm fortunate to be able to be in that position. I'm like, all right, that's enough. Pivot, go for a walk, read, rest, spend some time with family, recharge in different ways, you know.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love that. I can't wait for those days for me because I still work a full time job, but I can't wait for the day where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go sit down and read a book. Y'all have a good rest of the day. So I love that for you. Before we close though, I want to give you the opportunity to do any type of calls to action. Do you want to tell the people where they can follow you, where they can find you, what you have going on?
Nah, I don't. In preserving my in preserving my energy, I always look forward to engaging,
Yeah.
and I really believe in alignment. So if we're meant to work together, I know that we will cross paths. But I just want to encourage everybody, as Tanea is saying, is like, don't be confused by generational curses and generational cycles. There are some spiritual things that are curses, but let's look at the generational patterns that we're all perpetuating and do the work. Break those things. Call yourself out, right? Have that mirror test. Look at yourself and be like, why are you doing this?
Right.
And really get to know yourself again and understand what's motivating you to do these things. Even in a sense, T, what's motivating you to not allow yourself to get rest? What is that?
Right.
Like honestly,
Mhm.
guys, like I won't let myself sleep. What is going on? So
Right.
that's my only call is have the mirror test. Look at yourself in the mirror, not like
Mhm.
getting ready and it's superficial. Really look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, like, these things that you're stressing about, this pressure that we're putting on ourselves,
Mhm.
is this in alignment with your destiny? Is this really where you need to be and what you need to be stressing about? Or is it something that you need to shed? We may have had this conversation, T, but this is the year of the snake, right? From
Mhm.
a Chinese New Year perspective. And that was
Mhm.
something that I really embraced. And I'm not looking for transformation. Everybody wants to transform into a new this, the butterfly, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a transformational year. This is a year to shed and
Yes.
go of bad habits. We've outgrown patterns. We've outgrown things that just no longer serve us. Even opportunities that we may love. Sometimes this no longer serves me. And the next, version of myself that I need to be. I've outgrown this. and I need to shed that. So, give yourself grace, really look at yourself in the mirror, and be open and willing to shed what no longer serves you.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And I think we're just going to end it right there. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I thought this talk was amazing. Yeah, y'all don't bother him. I guess we're not. Y'all come follow me though on Instagram.
No, no, I don't want to say it's not like don't bother me, but like I said, like if we're meant to align, we'll link
You will.
for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do a call to action. Y'all come follow me on Instagram at honeybee_the bookkeeper. If you need bookkeeping services for your business, definitely reach out and hit me up. And yeah, check out my website. I have a lot of things, fun things on my website. So you guys go check that out as well. And thank you all again for being here, Demetri. Thank you.
All right,
Have a
y'all.
good night.
Let's
Peace.